When to harvest vegetables and fruits for the longest storage, proven timing secrets that prevent spoilage. Have you ever wondered why two gardeners can grow nearly identical vegetables, harvest them from the same variety, and store them in similar cellars, yet one enjoys crisp carrots, firm potatoes, and perfect apples all winter while the other finds mold, rot, shriveling, and disappointment just a few weeks later? Most people assume the difference is the storage room. They buy better bins. They improve ventilation. They adjust temperature. They blame humidity. But agricultural researchers have known for decades that the biggest mistake often happens before the vegetables ever enter storage. The secret begins in the garden. The exact day and even the exact hour you harvest can determine whether your crop lasts for months or begins deteriorating almost immediately. A potato dug after heavy rain behaves very differently from one harvested after several dry days. An onion pulled too early may never properly cure. A pumpkin harvested before its rind fully hardens may develop rot long before winter. An apple picked slightly immature may store beautifully, while one left on the tree just one extra week can lose months of storage life. Today we'll explore the science behind harvest timing and learn how experienced growers maximize storage life using simple observations instead of guesswork. We'll cover potatoes, onions, garlic, carrots, beets, cabbage, pumpkins, winter squash, apples, pears, and many other popular garden crops. You'll learn the visual signs of perfect maturity, the weather conditions that matter most, common harvesting mistakes, and why small details make such a dramatic difference in how long your harvest lasts. Let's begin with the principle that explains everything. Harvest timing determines storage potential. Every fruit and vegetable continues changing after harvest. Some continue ripening. Others slowly lose water. Many continue breathing through natural metabolic processes. The faster those processes occur, the shorter storage life becomes. Agricultural specialists refer to this as post-harvest physiology. A crop harvested too young often contains excess moisture, immature skins, incompletely developed protective tissues, or insufficient stored carbohydrates. These weaknesses make it more vulnerable to dehydration, bruising, and disease. On the other hand, harvesting too late creates different problems. Overmature produce may have softer tissues, tiny cracks, increased respiration, reduced disease resistance, or greater susceptibility to internal breakdown. The ideal harvest window is surprisingly narrow. Experienced gardeners are not simply harvesting when vegetables look big enough. They're harvesting when the crop has reached maximum storage quality. That stage isn't always the same as maximum eating quality. Fresh sweet corn tastes best immediately after reaching maturity. Storage onions, however, benefit from remaining in the field until their tops naturally collapse. Winter squash improves after curing. Pears are usually harvested before they're fully ripe. Understanding these differences is one of the biggest secrets of successful long-term storage. Another overlooked factor is weather. Harvesting during dry weather significantly reduces disease problems because dry surfaces discourage fungal infections. Wet vegetables carry soil more easily, bruise more readily, and require longer drying times. Whenever possible, harvest after several rain-free days. Morning dew should also be allowed to dry before harvesting crops intended for storage. Dry produce enters storage with a major advantage. Now let's examine each crop individually. Potatoes. Potatoes are among the world's best storage crops, but only when harvested correctly. For long-term storage, potatoes should remain in the ground for roughly 2 to 3 weeks after the vines naturally die back. During this period the skins continue thickening. This process is called skin set. You can test skin maturity by rubbing a potato with your thumb. If the skin easily peels away, the crop needs more time. If the skin remains firmly attached, harvesting can begin. Never harvest potatoes from saturated soil. Wet harvesting dramatically increases disease risk and causes excess soil to cling to tubers. Choose a dry day. Use digging forks carefully to avoid punctures. Even tiny wounds become entry points for storage diseases. Never leave potatoes baking in direct sunlight for hours. Brief exposure is acceptable while harvesting, but prolonged sunlight can green the skin and produce bitter compounds. After harvest, allow potatoes to dry in a shaded, well-ventilated location before curing. Proper curing heals small wounds and greatly improves storage life. Onions. Storage onions provide perhaps the clearest example of why patience matters. Many beginners harvest as soon as bulbs appear large. Unfortunately, large bulbs alone don't indicate maturity. The true signal occurs when approximately half to 3/4 of the tops naturally fall over and begin drying. At this stage, neck tissues start sealing. The outer scales become protective wrappers. Harvesting too early leaves thick necks that remain moist and become perfect entry points for decay. Organisms. Choose a dry spell. Lift onions gently rather than pulling aggressively. Then cure them in a warm, dry, airy location protected from rain and direct sun. The neck should become completely dry before storage. Never trim green tops before curing is complete. Garlic. Garlic presents a balancing act. Harvest too early and cloves remain undersized. Harvest too late and bulbs split apart underground. Split bulbs store poorly because protective wrappers separate. Most garlic is ready when several lower leaves have browned while several upper leaves remain green. Those remaining green leaves eventually become the bulb wrappers. If every leaf dies before harvest, many protective layers disappear. Lift bulbs carefully rather than pulling them. Leave foliage attached during curing. Only after complete drying should roots and tops be trimmed. Carrots. Carrots intended for storage differ slightly from carrots grown for immediate eating. Allow roots to reach full size without becoming overgrown and woody. Cool autumn temperatures actually improve carrot quality. As temperatures fall, carrots convert starches into sugars. This improves flavor while helping roots tolerate cold. Harvest before prolonged freezing locks the soil solid. Avoid harvesting immediately after heavy rain because saturated roots bruise more easily. Handle gently. Broken tips and damaged shoulders shorten storage life dramatically. Remove leafy tops promptly after harvest because foliage continues drawing moisture from the roots. Beets. Beets follow similar principles. Harvest when roots have reached their expected mature diameter. Extremely oversized beets often become coarse. Very small immature roots lose moisture rapidly. Twist tops off carefully rather than cutting deeply into the crown. Leaving about 1 inch of stem helps reduce bleeding and moisture loss. Avoid scraping the skin. Each scratch creates another opportunity for disease. Cabbage. Storage cabbage requires firm, dense heads. Heads should feel solid when squeezed gently. Harvest before repeated severe freezes, although light frosts generally improve flavor. Don't strip away every outer leaf. Several wrapper leaves protect heads during storage and reduce moisture loss. Discard damaged or diseased heads immediately instead of placing them in storage with healthy ones. Pumpkins. Pumpkins are famous autumn decorations, but proper harvest determines whether they'll last weeks or months. The rind should be fully hardened. Try pressing a fingernail into the skin. If it easily punctures, the pumpkin isn't fully mature. The stem should appear corky and firm. Color should be fully developed. Always cut pumpkins from the vine. Never carry them by the stem. Broken stems create ideal infection sites. Harvest before hard frost damages the rind. Even slight freezing injuries can drastically reduce storage life. Winter squash. Winter squash follows similar rules. Different varieties develop different mature colors, but all should possess hard skins resistant to fingernail pressure. Leave several inches of stem attached. This dramatically reduces infection risk. After harvest, cure squash in warm, dry conditions for about 1 to 2 weeks. Curing strengthens the rind and heals small injuries. Many gardeners skip this step and unknowingly shorten storage life. Apples. Apples are fascinating because ideal storage maturity occurs before full eating ripeness. Commercial growers use several indicators including background color, seed color, starch conversion, ease of separation from the spur, and variety-specific harvest windows. Home gardeners can rely on several practical observations. Background color changes from deep green toward lighter shades. Seeds become darker. Fruit separates with a gentle upward twist rather than forceful pulling. Do not wait until apples begin falling naturally. Many varieties have already lost significant storage potential by then. Handle every apple gently. Bruised fruit releases more ethylene and deteriorates faster. Never store damaged apples alongside perfect ones. One decaying fruit can quickly spread problems throughout the storage container. Pears. Pears confuse many gardeners because they usually ripen best after harvest. If left on the tree until soft, internal quality often declines. Harvest mature pears while still firm. They finish ripening indoors much more successfully. Again, gentle handling is essential. Tomatoes. Most tomatoes aren't stored for months, but harvest timing still matters. Harvest mature green tomatoes before frost if long indoor ripening is desired. Fully colored tomatoes offer the best immediate flavor but shorter storage. Never refrigerate tomatoes intended to continue ripening. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes should be harvested before chilling temperatures damage roots. Even cool soil below about 55 degrees Fahrenheit can reduce storage quality. Harvest carefully to prevent skinning. Then cure roots under warm, humid conditions to heal wounds and improve sweetness. Proper curing is one of the biggest factors affecting long-term success. Beans for dry storage. Dry beans should remain on plants until pods become dry and brittle whenever weather allows. If extended wet weather threatens, harvest plants and finish drying them under shelter. Beans stored before reaching safe dryness may mold quickly. Corn for seed or dry grain. Allow ears to mature completely on the plant whenever possible. Dry thoroughly before storage. Moist grain invites fungal growth and insect problems. Weather matters more than many people realize. Let's return to weather because this single factor influences almost every crop. Avoid harvesting during rain. Avoid harvesting immediately after irrigation. Avoid harvesting when heavy dew still coats plants. Dry produce carries fewer disease organisms into storage. Dry soils also reduce mechanical injury because vegetables separate more cleanly from the ground. Extremely hot afternoons can also increase stress. Whenever practical, harvest during cool parts of the day after moisture has evaporated. Handle every harvest as if it bruises easily. Invisible bruises become tomorrow's rot. Never throw vegetables into buckets. Never overfill containers. Never step on harvested produce. Keep filled baskets shaded. Heat accelerates respiration and water loss. Every hour spent in hot sunlight reduces storage potential. Commercial growers move harvested crops into cooling areas quickly for exactly this reason. Home gardeners benefit from following the same principle. Never store damaged produce. Sorting is one of the easiest ways to improve storage success. Separate produce into 3 groups. The first group includes perfect specimens for long-term storage. The second contains slightly damaged vegetables for immediate use. The third includes diseased or severely damaged produce that should never enter storage. One rotten vegetable truly can spoil many others. Regular inspections during storage are equally important. Remove any decaying produce immediately. Cure when appropriate. Not every crop requires curing. Leafy vegetables generally do not. However, potatoes, onions, garlic, pumpkins, winter squash, and sweet potatoes all benefit greatly from proper curing. Curing allows small wounds to heal. Protective tissues become stronger. Water loss slows. Disease resistance improves. Skipping this step often shortens storage life dramatically. Don't wash everything. Many gardeners instinctively wash every vegetable immediately after harvest. For long-term storage, that's usually a mistake. Excess moisture encourages disease. Instead, gently brush away loose soil. Wash produce only immediately before use unless a particular crop requires different handling. Variety also matters. Even perfect harvest timing cannot transform a poor storage variety into a great one. Some onion varieties naturally store much longer than sweet onions. Some apple cultivars keep for months while others remain excellent only for several weeks. The same principle applies to potatoes, carrots, cabbage, and squash. Harvest timing and variety selection work together. The biggest harvesting mistakes. Let's quickly summarize the errors that most often reduce storage life. Harvesting too early. Harvesting too late. Digging during wet weather. Handling produce roughly. Skipping curing. Storing damaged vegetables. Leaving harvested crops in hot sunlight. Washing produce before storage. Ignoring variety differences. Each mistake may seem small. Combined, they can reduce storage life from several months to just a few weeks. Final thoughts. Successful winter storage doesn't begin in the cellar. It begins with careful observation in the garden. Watch the plants. Learn the maturity signals for each crop. Wait for dry weather whenever possible. Harvest gently. Cure the crops that need curing. Sort carefully. Store only the healthiest produce. These practices aren't complicated. They're simply the methods that experienced gardeners, agricultural researchers, and commercial growers have refined over generations. The reward is remarkable. Instead of watching your harvest disappear into compost after a few weeks, you'll enjoy firm potatoes, crisp carrots, flavorful squash, healthy onions, and delicious apples deep into winter. The greatest secret isn't expensive equipment or complicated technology. It's harvesting each crop at exactly the right moment. Master that skill, and you'll already have solved the biggest challenge of long-term food storage. Before the first basket ever reaches your cellar. If you found this guide helpful, let us know which crops store best in your garden and which have given you the biggest challenges. Your experience may help another gardener enjoy a healthier, longer-lasting harvest next season.